With everything going on in the world, people need to be uplifted. They need something that promotes character, creativity, confidence, and joy. The GRN show is not just an average talk show. The topics are powerful and will make you think. Join me on this journey to be informed, to relate, to connect, and to evolve. Good evening and welcome to the GRN show. January 20th, 2021 was a historical day in so many ways. For me, it felt as if a veil of constant confusion and chaos lifted and replaced with renewed hope and some type of normalcy. We now have a rational adult president who is compassionate and who really recognizes the strength of our nation is in its diversity. As a diverse nation, he recognizes everyone has something to contribute and that his cabinet should reflect what our country looks like today. That is how he basically shows, not only in action, but in words, that everybody matters. For example, the Vice President Kamala Harris was selected. She's the first female. She's the first Caribbean Indio individual to be elected Vice President. And also, I have to tell you, she will be a tremendous co-lead with President Biden. So everybody's very excited about the new cabinet, about the new president. And I personally am just full of hope to really get back to where we are, get our country back. So we have with us a very special guest. I am super excited to have with us our guest, who is basically U.S. Congressman Ted Deutch, who's been in Washington, D.C., serving in U.S. House since 2010. He also serves on a number of committees, including Foreign Affairs, Judiciary Committee, as well as Ethics. I am so pleased to have you with us, Congressman. Welcome.
Well, thanks so much for having me. And your enthusiasm rubs off. I was excited to join you, but I'm even more excited and optimistic now just listening to you.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. You know, after hearing Amanda Gorman, I think one of the things she mentioned, it really stuck with me. And that is the reason why I decided to name this show A New Day, Uniting, and basically getting our country back to where it needs to be. One of the things she mentioned, she said, we are striving to forge a union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. This is what makes us such a great country. And it was so refreshing to hear that and actually see the President Biden and his cabinet really putting things back in order. It's like putting a puzzle back. So tell us, Congressman Deutch, what do you think as a nation we will see? You know, obviously it's only been just about a week or a little less than a week, and it feels already like many, many months. Tell me, what can we expect with this new administration, particularly with the theme of, you know, we got to build on our strength? Tell us a little bit. What do you think? You've been working with Biden before. You've worked with Biden in the past when he was vice president, and of course, the other one that just left.
First of all, thanks again for having me, and thanks for starting with a question about the inauguration, which was incredible and felt like such a great moment for our country. but especially that presentation, that poem by Amanda Gorman. I don't know about you, but I've now watched it several times since the inauguration. It was just such a powerful message of unity as one nation. It was just spot on for the moment. Our country has always had flaws, and we acknowledge that, but we've always strived for perfection. We've always tried to be better, and that's what drives us forward. We want to be a more fair and equal and just, and that's unfortunately something that we all felt wasn't happening during the last administration. And look, a lot of the challenges that we faced over the last 4 years were made worse and were put more in the spotlight by a president who rejected truth and strained the democracy. And he didn't create, obviously, he didn't create racial divides. He didn't create the anti-immigrant sentiment or right-wing extremism. He didn't create a wealth gap or food insecurity or COVID-19, but all of them became worse. And there was this division that we felt. So what does President Biden offer and Vice President Harris? Well, he's assured us that his job is to unite and serve as president of all Americans. And how refreshing was that? Not just those, he made this clear on Inauguration Day. He made it clear throughout the campaign also that he's not just going to serve the people who voted for him, but everyone. And so far, it's pretty clear he's followed his words with action. We've seen the steps that he's taken. I'm sure we'll have a chance to talk more about that, but this isn't an easy job. But for Joe Biden, someone who has served his entire adult life in public service, who understands how important it is, that's what he's going to be able to do. And I mean, like you, I feel so hopeful and optimistic and energetic, and it really feels like a new moment for the country.
It really does. And I when he says, I am ready to lead this country with my soul, you can actually feel that. So those are the kinds of things that really I am anticipating. And I always see the glass half full. Happy days are here again. That's really how I feel.
Me too. That must be why we like each other. I feel the same way.
Well, tell us about some of the executive orders that President Biden just signed during his first few days, and how will they impact us, particularly Florida, with a governor who really is not committed to the new administration and probably the previous administration's agenda. Tell us about some of those administrative orders.
Well, sure. Look, his first week, the president has taken really significant action. The first 30 executive orders are going to benefit all Americans, which, by the way, includes all Floridians. And the Governor DeSantis, fully supported Trump's policies, and obviously did so much to contribute, I think, to the divisions that we saw in the last administration. But he doesn't get to pick. The governor doesn't get to pick and choose which directives he's going to follow and which ones he's going to ignore, because they apply to all of us. So just in this first week, the president acted to put us back on the international stage by rejoining the World Health Organization and the Paris Climate Accords. And he strengthened our policy to buy American. He's got executive actions on policing and improving prison conditions and focusing on equity. He's taken significant action on healthcare and obviously the response to COVID-19 and the need for us to really crush the pandemic. And he's recognized the importance of equality and lifted the ban on transgender service members in our armed forces. I mean, everything that he's done, I think, helps set the tone for how we go forward. Just the 100-day mask challenge. I mean, compare that to what we have in Florida, where the governor has shown no interest in just doing the basic things of having people wear a mask. Here comes the president, and one of the first things he does is say, you know what, we're all in this together. And if we all wear masks, we're going to help keep one another healthy. And so in all of these things, by launching this whole of government initiative to really focus on equity across all policymaking and to root out systemic racism, that's important. And the last thing, just the last thing that is, again, so significant, we had in the prior president, we had someone who demonized immigrants, which in our community really hurt, because we're a nation of immigrants, but especially down here in South Florida, immigrants are the backbone of our community. And President Biden came in, he reversed the Trump decision to exclude undocumented immigrants from the census. He directed the cabinet to preserve and fortify DACA. He reversed the Muslim ban. He moved forward on really working with Congress to pass really lasting and important immigration reform. That's the kind of thing that shows that this is a president who's committed to strengthening everything that's great about America. That's how we're going to be stronger as a result.
Awesome. You know, and I'm one of those who believe politics really starts locally. Obviously, you have this global plan. And those of us who work with the community, how can we best get this message out and really I've seen people pretty much hiding, particularly during the census. We need to get them to feel comfortable again, to come out and really live their life without the fear of being deported. And as you said, demonized and really not feeling comfortable.
Well, you're exactly right. And it's not going to be easy. It doesn't happen immediately. I mean, so many people have been, as you point out, rightly, so many people have been living in fear. The examples that we have, the stories that we have over the past 4 years of families being torn apart. It's understandable why why immigrant community especially is going to be hesitant to really engage again. But the words of President Biden matter, and the actions that he put in place show that he's committed to this. And this kind of conversation that we're having, I think, is going to be critical to really help people become more comfortable. And then they're going to get to know more about Joe Biden. When Joe Biden was vice president, he visited Latin America and the Caribbean 16 times.
Wow.
And contrast that with President Trump. And so President Biden's going to treat the countries in our hemisphere as valued economic and diplomatic partners. He recognizes the importance of the community of immigrants from the region here in South Florida and around the country. And the more opportunity that people have to hear him speak, to hear people from his administration, the more comfortable I'm absolutely comfortable. I'm sure they will be, and that's going to be better for all of us.
It's interesting. I was just reading a little bit about you, and you actually made history. You are one of the few Congress people who have participated in the president's impeachment 2 times.
Yeah, there are. That is true. There are not many of us. And look, the fact is, the president was impeached once, and it was clear why that was necessary. And the president had a long history that all actually culminated with that impeachment when he used his own office, the office of the presidency, for personal gain, for political gain, when he tried to shake down a foreign leader to help himself in a campaign. But then what happened on January 6th was just something that none of us could have ever imagined. The way that the president told people, riled people up with this lie that he told over and over, that the election was stolen from him, that there was fraud, when the fact is he was trounced in this election. And then this incitement led to what we saw at the Capitol when we were literally attacked in the place where I work, in the symbol of our democracy, by people who had been so riled up that they launched an insurrection. They attacked the Capitol. That was the second impeachment, and now we'll see a trial going forward, and people are going to have to decide whether they think that there needs to be accountability for that kind of devastating moment in our history. Terrific.
Congressman Deutch, you are a member or the chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee? what are some of the policies you could not move forward that you anticipate with perhaps new sentiments, new administration will be able to move forward with?
Well, I don't chair the Foreign Affairs Committee, but I am senior member and I chair one of the
Okay,
subcommittees.
okay.
But I work closely on a lot of these issues. And look, we had in President Trump someone who tried repeatedly to end TPS for so many communities. He didn't, as I alluded to before, he didn't show any respect to the Caribbean or Latin American communities in our country. He saw them as political props that he could use. And President Biden's immigration plan is, though it's not direct, it's not foreign policy, but it is the most significant step that we'll move forward on quickly, that will help set the tone for not only how we treat our immigrants, but how we view the world. And his plan would allow TPS holders to qualify for green card citizenship path. And he's going to be reviewing Trump's efforts to end TPS for immigrants from Haiti, Nicaragua, and El Salvador. He's pledged to work with the Haitian government to hold an election that is free and fair. I mean, these aren't legislative actions, but these are the things that an administration that's committed to leading with a foreign policy, that's committed to democracy and human rights and respect for the individual, that's what we're going to see. I mean, look, he's not going to yield to the Cuban government or Maduro in Venezuela, but when I visited in Colombia, we went to the border with Venezuela and saw all of the goods that weren't getting in to provide the humanitarian relief that's needed. President Biden understands we've got to help the people in those countries. We have to help the refugees. And then just finally, outside of our own hemisphere, obviously, President Biden is going to make clear who our friends are and who our adversaries are. And he's going to reaffirm our partnerships with our allies, with other democracies in the world. And he's going to make clear how we view Russia and Iran and North Korea. So that's going to be really critical. And from the diplomats I talked to, the ambassadors from countries around the world, they're also so hopeful that finally there's an America that's willing to engage with our allies and work together to address the huge issues that we face all together.
Terrific. I'm so excited, so excited. So some of the priorities, as I understand, include first, of course, the pandemic. We've lost so many lives due to neglect. The economy, a lot of people have lost their jobs due to the pandemic. Racial equity, we really have seen so much turmoil in our country over the last few years. And of course, climate change, which was supposed to be hoax. So those are the priorities, as I understand. Where do you see Vice President Kamala Harris being more impactful, or, obviously share some of those responsibilities?
Well, I've worked with the vice president. I worked with her when she was in the Senate, and I know how smart she is, how insightful she is, how dedicated she is to doing what's right for all of the people. But before we even talk about the things that she's going to work on, I mean, it's such a big deal. Going forward, it will never be a big deal again that there was a time in our history when we didn't have a woman in national office. But the fact is, everyone from around the world watched Vice President Harris take the oath of office and become the first female and the first Black woman and the first Asian American vice president. And the significance of that, it can't be overstated. So she's got incredible qualifications and skills. But what she's already shown millions of young women, particularly young women of color, is that anything is possible. And so everything that she does going forward is going to bring perspectives that none of the previous residents of the White House or the vice president's office have ever known. And that's going to be a policy that leads with values, that we should care for one another and our planet, and that everyone should be treated equal and have equal opportunities. So between her background and her experience and her values, I am quite confident that she's going to play a really significant role to help us achieve progress for the whole country.
Great, terrific, terrific. It was interesting. I was speaking with a friend of mine who has a 9-year-old, and her 9-year-old daughter, as I was speaking with her, she says, did you see our new vice president? This little girl, it's as if she was following the politics. So obviously, a lot of little girls are seeing themselves in the new vice president. And again, that is extremely hopeful.
And how great is it? You said she's 9?
9 years old. And it's
how great is it
politics.
That 9 years from now, when she's old enough to vote, we'll look back on this moment, but it will just be commonplace at that point. Of course, women have been vice presidents. By then, my hope is we'll see a woman president as well. And that kind of interest that she's inspired and hope that she's created, it's really incredible to see. And it for all of the reasons that we should be optimistic, we really can't overstate the significance of what Vice President Harris represents to the whole country.
Absolutely. And I just am really grateful that President Biden, really his vision for America, he's actually putting everything he said into action, which is wonderful. This is what I call integrity. So, which we have not had in the past with the former president. So it's a new day. Happy days are here again. In terms of Florida,
yeah,
Congressman Deutsch, obviously there's a lot of work to be done. We've seen it done in Georgia, where we've been able to flip the state blue. And I believe, just speaking with others, there is a commitment to do that here in Florida. What would your suggestion be? Turning the state around where, as a battleground state, it's no longer a red state.
Well, I don't agree that we should just write off Florida as a red state. I think, look, there's a lot of work to do, and it's organizing and registering people to vote and making sure that people remain engaged, and we're going to do all of that. But I think that the best opportunity that we have going forward is that we have now, we no longer have a governor who keeps looking to the president for support. So he's now left bare. Everything that Governor DeSantis, the way that his failures on this pandemic are now laid bare for everyone to see. And if you look, so he's on the ballot in 2 years. And if you look at Senator Rubio, who has decided literally in the hours after Joe Biden became president, and as the rest of the country was celebrating this call for unity, there was Marco Rubio using the most divisive language, refusing to even take a breath and give Joe Biden a chance. And people will see that, and they want us to come together, and they know that Joe Biden wants us to come together. And over the next couple of years, when the majority of us work so hard to make things better, and we will, that those who are standing against progress, like Governor DeSantis and Senator Rubio, are going to find it hard to go out to the voters and convince them that divisiveness is the right ticket to getting reelected, not at a time when we have a president who's so committed to bringing people together.
From your mouth to God's ears, Congressman. I want to say thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This was wonderful. And I truly appreciate you spending the time with us. And again, we're there, and we're looking forward to happy days again.
Well, thanks so much for having me, and thanks to all of the viewers. And I just look forward to the day when we're able to do this in person, hopefully in front of lots of our friends and neighbors. In the meantime, I would encourage people to reach out to our office, go to our website, deutsch.house.gov. If people have questions about how to get vaccines or the latest on pandemic relief or the things that we're trying to do with President Biden. We really love talking to people and interacting, and I encourage people to reach out.
Thank you again. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thanks. You too. Thanks for having me.
Mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at 58 years old.
8 years into the disease was when all the light went out.
For me, it was heart-wrenching.
Looking into the eyes of somebody with Alzheimer's, sometimes you just don't see the person's soul is like gone.
And it takes a toll on everyone. I mean, it's a depressing disease to watch unfold before your eyes.
She actually thought those of us who were caring for her and who loved her most were her worst enemies.
More and more responsibilities fell on my shoulders.
This disease just ravages a family.
It changes your life.
The magnitude of it is indescribable. My mother taught me to be in the moment.
We have to live in the moment with them.
And I'm going to be with that person right now in this moment, wherever she is.
Now is the moment. If we work together, we can stop this epidemic.
Contact Bright Focus and learn more.
We are back and we have with us Dorothy Richardson. Dorothy, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Gitel. How are you?
Doing very well. You know, we had Congressman Ted Deutsch as our special guest, and I have to tell you, throughout our conversation, I felt extremely hopeful. And, you know, obviously the topic of our show this evening is it's a new day, unifying and restoring our communities. So it's really to kind of transition us into a much more positive and unified front as a community. So tell us a little bit about what you have for us this evening.
Interesting. So today's topic is working towards a community of unity. Today, many people and communities are faced with different social issues and obstacles that can bring good or even bad changes. There can be agreements at times and disagreements that brings that passion out for many of us, whether it's globally, nationally, or even locally. Our thoughts and our beliefs can be expressed through freedom of expression. There are many countries around the world that are fortunate and sadly, unfortunately, to do so. One universal thing that I can say that has power is unity. Unity in working together and agreeing on walking and working towards that common goal. This can be, for example, sports team, a community, a neighborhood, a family, or even a group. When pulling together, it always requires, as they say, a village to bring things together. Here are some great strong tips and strategy to keep in mind when working towards unification. Tip number 1, have a common goal. First, know what the goal is in everyone agreeing synonymously. People has to be on the same page to make things work. For example, a neighborhood watch, where everyone in the neighborhood can make sure everyone is safe, the children are safe. Know and recognize a common threat. Sometimes a situation or problem can tend to be forge a group together in talking and discussing how to solve or approach that problem. It's important to talk about and discuss that common threat. And next, collaborate strategy. Great example is, like I mentioned before, sports team. A group planning together to win that next game. That can take a lot of work, time, and effort. And finally, one thing we must remember, unify. When coming together as a group, team, or community, the force is always stronger. So as they say in Star Wars, may the force be with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And, you know, if we were to think of one word moving forward with the new administration, I think that word unity would be the one that I choose. So again, you were right on target. I truly appreciate it. Have a wonderful evening, Dorothy.
You too, Gitel. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, I never do this, but I have to tell you about this great channel that I found, Aries Vision Television. It's on Roku. It's a Haitian American channel and I love it. They have such great stuff. Movies, TV shows, children's shows, really anything you can imagine. So, I've really been binging for hours. If you are looking for something great to watch or know anybody else who's looking for something great to watch, let them know about this channel, Aries Vision Television.
Indeed, the 2021 inauguration was non-conventional and definitely historic. When you look at it with the pandemic and even the domestic terrorism that we've experienced a couple of weeks before the inauguration, there was no way we could have had the type of inauguration we've had in the past. In fact, most people, they've done it virtually. They've watched many of the performances as well as the swearing in of the president as well as the vice president virtually. It is a new day. It is a new world. And we're hoping that each and every one of you will think about how can we all unify and really restore our communities. There is so much healing to be done in our community. And I pray that each and every one of you will think about how can we unify our communities as well as do what you can to restore some of the ills that we've experienced in the last few days. So with that, I want to say good evening. Thank you for joining us and enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Good night.
This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me. As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled, and I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts. And all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me. When the sun came shining and I was strolling, and the wheat fields waving, and the dust clouds rolling, and the fog was lifting, a voice was chanting. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking, I saw a sign there, and on the sign it said no trespassing. But on the other side, it didn't say no